Okay, Bryan just did something that has the entire internet calling him petty and messy and honestly kind of unhinged. The country music star just got married to a woman named Samantha Leonard. And his ex-girlfriend Brianna Chickenfry LaPaglia just went on Logan Paul's Impaulsive podcast and said Samantha is her carbon copy. Looks exactly like her. Same hair. Same face. Same style. Everything. And Brianna said the wedding felt like a shot at me. Like Zach married someone who looks like his ex specifically to mess with her. And when you see the photos, when you see Samantha, you cannot unsee the resemblance. It's wild. So let me break down this entire messy situation because there are so many layers. From the brutal breakup, to the $12 million NDA offer, to the emotional abuse allegations, to this new marriage that happened suspiciously fast. This is peak country music drama and honestly it's giving toxic energy. Let's get into it. First let me tell you who everyone is because if you're not in the country music or podcast world you might not know these people. Bryan is a 28-year-old country singer from Oklahoma. He's absolutely massive right now. His song Something in the Orange went viral on TikTok. His album American Heartbreak debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200. He's won awards. He's touring stadiums. He's the real deal. And he's known for being this authentic, vulnerable songwriter who sings about heartbreak and small-town life. Very relatable. Very emotional. Fans love him. Then there's Brianna LaPaglia who goes by Chickenfry. She's a 25-year-old podcaster and influencer. She works for Barstool Sports. She co-hosts the BFFs podcast with Dave Portnoy and Josh Richards. She's got millions of followers. She's funny. She's unfiltered. She says whatever she wants. And she's not afraid of drama. Zach and Brianna started dating in summer 2023. They went public with their relationship. Posted cute couple content. Went to events together. Fans loved them. They seemed happy. And then in November 2024, out of absolutely nowhere, Zach broke up with her. Via text. And then posted about the breakup on Instagram before even telling Brianna he was gonna post. She found out they were broken up from his Instagram story. That's cold. When Brianna talked about the breakup on her podcast, she was devastated. She said Zach blindsided her. That she had no idea it was coming. That she thought they were solid. And then boom. Done. Over. And she was left picking up the pieces. But here's where it gets wild. After the breakup, Zach's team reached out to Brianna. They offered her $12 million. $12 million. To sign an NDA. A non-disclosure agreement. Basically, they wanted to pay her to never talk about Zach publicly. To never share details of their relationship. To stay silent. And Brianna said absolutely not. She refused the money. She said on her podcast, "I don't want his money. I want to be able to tell my story." And she has been telling her story. 4 months. On the BFFs podcast. On social media. Everywhere. She's talked about how Zach was emotionally abusive. How he was controlling. How he isolated her from her friends. How he made her feel small. She said he love-bombed her at the beginning. Made her feel like she was everything. And then slowly started tearing her down. Classic toxic relationship pattern. And Brianna has been very open about how much it messed her up. How she's in therapy. How she's still healing. So that's the context. Brutal breakup. $12 million hush money offer. Emotional abuse allegations. And Zach has stayed completely silent through all of it. He hasn't responded to any of Brianna's claims. He hasn't defended himself. He just Disappeared. Went quiet. Focused on his music. And everyone assumed he was laying low, letting the drama die down. But nope. He was apparently planning a wedding. Because on February 18, 2026, just 4 months after the breakup, Bryan got married to Samantha Leonard. A private ceremony. No big announcement beforehand. Just boom. Married. And when photos of Samantha started circulating, the internet lost it. Because Samantha looks exactly like Brianna. I'm not exaggerating. Same long blonde hair. Same style. Same vibe. They could be sisters. And people immediately started saying Zach has a type. Or worse. That he married someone who looks like Brianna on purpose. To mess with her. To prove a point. To show her he moved on. Whatever the reason, it's weird. And Brianna is not okay with it. On the Impaulsive podcast, which just came out, Brianna talked about the wedding. She said when she saw the photos it hurt. That seeing Zach marry someone who looks like her carbon copy felt like a shot at me. Like he did it on purpose. She said, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he intentionally married someone who looks like me. But it feels that way. And it sucks. Logan Paul and his co-host were sympathetic. They agreed the resemblance is uncanny. They asked Brianna if she thinks Zach is trying to replace her. And Brianna said, honestly, I don't know. Maybe he just has a type. Maybe he's attracted to a certain look. Or maybe he's so messed up that he wanted to hurt me one more time. Either way, it's not healthy. And the internet agrees. The comments on Brianna's podcast and on social media are all saying the same thing. Zach is petty. Zach is weird. Zach clearly isn't over Brianna if he married her doppelganger. Some people are defending Zach, saying he's allowed to marry whoever he wants. That Brianna is being dramatic. That not everyone who has blonde hair looks the same. But when you actually compare photos of Samantha and Brianna, the resemblance is undeniable. Now let's talk about who Samantha Leonard is, because not much is known about her. She's not a public figure. She doesn't have a huge social media following. She seems to live a pretty private life. Which is the opposite of Brianna, who is extremely public. Some people think that's intentional. That Zach wanted someone who wasn't in the spotlight. Who wouldn't talk about him publicly. Who wouldn't go on podcasts and spill details. Basically the anti-Brianna. But the fact that she looks like Brianna, that's what's throwing people off. Because if you wanted to move on and find someone completely different, why would you choose someone who could pass as your ex's twin? It doesn't make sense. Unless you're not actually over your ex, unless you're trying to recreate what you had. Or unless you're trying to hurt your ex by showing them you replaced them with someone who looks just like them. None of those options are healthy. Brianna also talked about how the timing of the wedding feels suspicious. It's been 4 months since the breakup. 4 months. That's not a long time. Especially for someone who was in a serious year-long relationship. Most people take at least 6 months to a year before even dating again, let alone getting married. So the fact that Zach went from breaking up with Brianna to marrying Samantha in 4 months raises questions. Did he even take time to process the breakup? Did he work on himself? Did he go to therapy to address the issues Brianna brought up? Or did he just jump into a new relationship to avoid dealing with his problems? Brianna thinks it's the latter. She said on the podcast, I don't think he's healed. I don't think he's worked on himself. I think he found someone who looks like me and thought that would fix things. But it won't. You can't marry your way out of your issues. And she's right. If Zach was emotionally abusive in his relationship with Brianna, if he was controlling and manipulative, those behaviors don't just go away because you marry someone new. Samantha is probably gonna deal with the same things Brianna dealt with. Unless Zach has done serious work to change. Which based on the timeline seems unlikely. The internet is having a field day with this. People are posting side-by-side photos of Samantha and Brianna. And the comments are brutal. One person said Zach really said I'll just get another one. Another said this is giving I'm not over my ex so I married her replacement. Someone else wrote Samantha girl run he's gonna do the same thing to you. There are also people defending Zach. Saying Brianna is jealous. That she's mad Zach moved on and is trying to make it about her. That she needs to let it go and stop talking about him. But here's the thing. Brianna refused $12 million so she could tell her story. She's not doing this for attention or money. She's doing it because she wants people to know what she went through. She wants other women who are in similar situations to feel less alone. And honestly, she has every right to talk about her own relationship. Zach can't control that. Even if he tried to pay her to stay quiet. One of the most interesting parts of the Impulsive interview was when Logan Paul asked Brianna if she would ever consider reconciling with Zach. And Brianna said absolutely not. She said even if Zach came back and apologized and begged for another chance she would never go back. Because she knows who he really is now. She said the person I fell in love with wasn't real. It was a version of Zach he performed to get me hooked. And once I was hooked he showed his true colors. That's love bombing. That's a classic abuse tactic. And Brianna recognizes it now. She said therapy has helped her understand the red flags she missed. The ways he manipulated her. And she's never going back. Which is growth. Which is healthy. And honestly good for her. Now people are wondering what happens next. Will Zach ever respond to any of this? Will Samantha eventually speak out? Will Brianna keep talking about Zach on her podcast? Probably yes to that last one because Brianna has said she's not done telling her story. She wants to use her platform to raise awareness about emotional abuse. And Zach marrying someone who looks like her just gave her more material. Some people think Zach got married specifically to try and shut Brianna up. Like maybe he thought if I move on publicly and get married Brianna will stop talking about me. But that's not how it works. Getting married doesn't erase the past. It doesn't undo the hurt you caused. And it definitely doesn't stop your ex from speaking their truth. There's also this question of whether Samantha knows about all of this. Like did Zach tell her about Brianna? About the $12 million NDA offer? About the abuse allegations? Or did he downplay it? Did he tell Samantha that Brianna is just a crazy ex who won't let go? Because that's what abusers do. They paint their exes as the problem. They make themselves the victim. And then the new partner doesn't realize what they're getting into until it's too late. Hopefully Samantha did her research. Hopefully she listened to Brianna's podcast episodes. Hopefully she knows what she signed up for. But if she doesn't, if Zach fed her a narrative that Brianna is lying or exaggerating, then Samantha is in for a rude awakening. One thing that's undeniable is that Brianna has handled this with a lot of grace considering the circumstances. She could have taken the $12 million and stayed silent. She could have trashed Zach way worse than she has. She could have leaked private messages or photos or recordings. But she hasn't. She's just been honest about her experience. And people respect that. She's not being vindictive. She's being real. And that's why her podcast episodes about Zach have gotten millions of listens. People want to hear the truth. They want to support someone who's been through something difficult. And Brianna has created a community of people who relate to her story. So there you have it. Bryan married Samantha Leonard 4 months after breaking up with Brianna Chickenfry. Samantha looks exactly like Brianna. Same hair, same face, same everything. Brianna went on Impulsive and said it felt like a shot at me. She refused Zach's $12 million NDA offer so she could tell her story about emotional abuse. The internet is calling Zach petty and saying he clearly has a type or is trying to replace Brianna. And Brianna is continuing to heal and share her experience publicly. What do you think? Is Zach petty for marrying someone who looks like his ex? Or is Brianna reading too much into it? And do you think this marriage will last? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe because this country music drama is far from over. Until next time, remember that moving on doesn't mean jumping into a new relationship. It means actually working on yourself. And Bryan clearly skipped that step. Peace.